Hey everyone, welcome back to the weekly Astro forecast for today, Tuesday, the 24th, going into next week, the 30th. Let me know how you are all doing with the current energies of this week. Let me know how you are feeling now that Mercury is back direct. Well, of course, Mercury will still be in its post shadow zone until the 9th of April. Pretty interesting date, you guys, because on the 9th of April, also Mars will ingress into the sign of Aries. It will then be in its home sign. So, actually, a date to mark your calendar. Of course, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe here at the Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic 003 channel on YouTube. And of course, also here on Rumble. There are a lot of cool shows. Make sure you do not miss a single beat. And if you guys are interested in booking an astrology session, you can do that, of course, at the Beyond Mystic consultation page. You can use Beyond Mystic to save 10% off. So let's start with the week ahead because we've got some heavy hitters this week. Headliner of this week, Saturn will sextile Pluto. And hi, Unova. Thank you so much for being with us here today. All right, Saturn sextile Pluto. That is actually a pretty big deal, you guys, because of course, when did we saw the last conjunction of Saturn and Pluto? That was on January of 2020. So yeah, pretty important deal, you guys. And Janova, happy birthday to you and happy birthday to all my other fellow Aries. This is really our season. And let me know if you felt the energy shift. I sure have. Like, I'm feeling like I have a lot more energy, and I really noticed it as soon as the sun jumped into Aries. That was like, okay, now we're rolling again. And of course, the sun, it is exalted in Aries. It likes to be there, it shines bright. But of course, the sun is now like on top of Neptune, and it's going to conjunct Saturn pretty soon as well. So, yeah, we're already like totally in that energy. And when the sun is on Neptune, we could feel a little bit confused and a little bit, yeah, unsure, and doubts could come up. That was definitely the case during the weekend for some of you guys. Just know that it's completely normal. We need to fully surrender right now with everything that's going on. And definitely Saturn sextile Pluto. That is the whole reason why we are seeing such a madness right now on the world stage. So, of course, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about all of this today. And hi, Patrice. It is indeed some crazy energy for sure. It feels like the universe is testing us. Yes, exactly, Patrice. And if you guys have been following me for quite some time, or maybe on my own YouTube channel, then you guys know that I have been warning for quite some time that 2026 would be like the exam of the universe to see if we really like learned our lesson of 2020. So now we are seeing the opening sextile of Saturn and Pluto. Of course, a sextile is a positive aspect, and you're gonna see a lot of other astrologers talk about how beneficial it is and it's an opportunity. And I agree with the sextile being a positive aspect, but still, you guys, these are two heavy hitters. In our personal lives, it can be very beneficial and a very big opportunity that opens up new doors. But as we can already see on the world stage, it is not so positive. And that is because the seed that got planted in January of 2020 now is coming into like full effect. And we are seeing the consequences, we are seeing the measures that got implemented back then. This is another push in the rollout of Agenda 2030. Unfortunately, there's not much that we can do instead of like becoming fearful, because of course the Sun in Aries, Aries, it is fearless most of the time, and if Aries feels a fear coming up, well, then just like go full force ahead anyway. So it's really about like reclaiming our power and our sovereignty, and it's really about standing in our truth, speaking our truth. And Saturn in Aries, it is about like reclaiming responsibility and accountability for our own identity and for our own process right now. Nevertheless, what happens on the world stage, nevertheless, what our big world leaders are currently like messing a lot of things up right now. Saturn in Aries, it is about instant karma as well. So now with the sextile to Pluto, that is going to bring such a big transformation, and all the measures and all the new policies and new judicial rules that are going to be implemented right now are going to be here for quite some time. This is like the aspect that builds new governments, new systems, new technology. Pluto is in Aquarius, you guys. So we're going to see implementation of new technologies over the next couple of days, and people are going to be revolting against that. Pluto is in Aquarius, so still, we are now in the opening sextile. In June and November of 2028, we are going to see the first opening square. That is going to be a different story. So there's an elephant in the room. We need to read the signs on the wall and prepare before 2028. That is why now there's another big wake up call happening in order for us to really prepare and, yeah, just like plan ahead before the first opening square happens. So, for those of you who are not really familiar with the synodic cycles and the things that I'm trying to, yeah, explain to you guys right now. So, when two planets come together, definitely two outer planets, that is a very big deal, you guys. When they come together in 2020 in January, they planted a seed. Now we see the first sextile, so the first new aspect of Saturn and Pluto. Then in 2028, we're going to see the first opening square. That is going to be a tough one, you guys. I'm already saying it now, multiple like years up front, but the opening square is going to get way more crazy, batshit insane than the things we're seeing right now. And that is like an understatement. But whenever you see a square, that is tension. That is also challenge. It is friction. But friction and challenge, they create change. And they are going to try to like push further into their whole agenda 2030. But after the first opening square, then we are going to see 4 years later, if I'm correct. I'm not so well versed in going so far ahead of time. But after 2028, 4 years after that, we're going to see the first opposition. So everything that they're going to try to implement in 2028 during the opening square will receive a lot of opposition during the opposition. So the word says it in itself. So yeah, we are in for some very interesting times. And yeah, I know there are a lot of problems right now, and it might seem scary, but remember, Mars is in Pisces. A lot of people feel kind of backstabbed, which is totally understandable, but do not throw the towel in the ring right now, because that is what they want. Do not lose faith, do not lose hope. There is a higher plan, and the universe is definitely going to catch us when we fall. And we all collectively now need to do a very big trust fall. That is because Saturn Neptune just conjuncted on February the 20th. That is all about like destruction and like the collapse of governments and being like unsure or on where the future is going to take us. It is the whole point and the whole essence of all the transits that we're going through right now. It is about we now seeing very clearly that we need to reclaim and retake our power, and that we need to become sovereign beings and stand in our truth. And no matter what they try to inflict upon us, it's gonna cause some rattling, because we are now entering a pretty intense period of time. If you've watched my Aries season workshop, which is, by the way, available if you want to catch the replay, then you noticed and you already know what the next few weeks are about to bring us. So it's really about also sparking a lot of like, it's sparking us to really build communities. And they are trying to create a lot of misery and a lot of bad things on us right now. But that is going to spark like a whole new revolution. Pluto is in Aquarius, you guys. So even though it is very unstable, it not only looks unstable, it is unstable. A lot of people during the astrology readings are asking me a lot of advice in regards to our finances. Well, because it's such a big question and it's been asked to me so much, it is all predestined. We are about to change over like into a new financial system. This week, Venus in Aries, Venus money, Aries, the sign of war, is about to conjunct Chiron. Chiron is wounds. It is also about issues in relationships and in our own identity and in our warrior energy. And that has been trying to heal for a very, very long time, the sign of Aries. Then on the 6th of April, you guys, Uranus is about to shift over to its 29 degrees. 29 degrees is a critical degree. So whenever we see planets at the end degrees of a sign, that is like the most amount of power that they then like cast onto our Earth. So Uranus, it is of course about disruption, volatility, and Uranus in Taurus, Taurus is our finances, financial system. That is why we are seeing such a big crashes going on right now as well, within silver, within gold, within everywhere right now. Now, the good news is that by the end of June, beginning of July, Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Leo. So Leo rules over gold. Jupiter expands and it protects and it amplifies. So that in itself is a very positive sign. But then by the end of July, the South Node is going to enter into the sign of Leo as well. And Leo also rules with like casinos, the stock market, the bond market. And we also just had a solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is about disruption because it was squaring off with the ruler Uranus. And if you look back in our historic cycles, the same eclipses happened during 2007. So we are now in the astrological, like more or less same time before 2008. But this time it's going to get a little bit more crazy, you guys. So it's all predestined. It's just like the planetary energies also that are doing their thing. With Uranus shifting at 29 degrees, Uranus also deals with like technology and online systems and cyber attacks and power outages. And unfortunately, we just had an eclipse that squared off with Uranus. So that energy is going to be palpable from the middle of February until 6 months after that. So another important factor in all of that is on the 23rd of April, Venus will conjunct Uranus at the last degree. So that is going to be a shock to the financial system. So more is coming. A lot of people are asking me, Astrid, how long is this going to last? Well, Venus is now on Chiron. Chiron are wounds in Aries, war. Then, like in the first week of April, Venus will be in Taurus in her home sign where she normally operates very, very well. But she is about to square off with Pluto in Aquarius. So Venus square Pluto, not good financial news, unfortunately. Then by the end of April, Venus will conjunct Uranus, another very big shock to the financial system. So it's just like one thing after another. And yeah, a lot of people are struggling financially, and then they're going to come up with their universal basic income. So we need to create communities. We need to create groups of people that are going to help us whenever we struggle. And it's becoming very, very clear that actually Pluto and Aquarius, it's about like the real new currency. It is not your big house. It is not your fancy car. It is the people you surround yourself with. And that is becoming very, very obvious. So to me, everything that's happening, if you look at it from a 3D perspective, yes, it sucks. Yes, it is not nice to go through. Yes, it causes a lot of irritability. Definitely with the sun in Aries, people are pissed off, you guys. Wait until Mars enters the sign of Aries on the 9th of April. We're going to see very big issues with taxes in the US because this whole Aries stellium falls into the 8th house of the US Sibley chart. In the 4th house, but it happens in Trump's 8th house. I reversed it, excuse me. So yeah, there is a lot of intensity and there is a lot of change going on right now. But if you look at it from a higher perspective, there's definitely a very big reason that all of this is happening, and we need to go through the peristalsis right now. It's like we're going through the birth canal, and the cramps are just very, very heavy, and we're not halfway through, you guys. So 2026, it is all about revelations. It is all about like things changing up. And then in 2027, the North Node will conjunct Pluto. So everything will be destructed in some kind of way. And there's going to be a very big rebirth through crisis. But it's all predestined. So just, yeah, for the next couple of weeks, I would say buckle up because things are going to get a little bit more intense. But it's all very necessary. And now I'm particularly talking about like things on a global stage, but in our personal lives, there can be a lot of breakthroughs whenever like Venus conjunct Chiron, it is about like healing our identity wounds and our wounds in relationships and really being faced with reality and how we might need to change something up. And whatever we implement right now, whatever big new system that we install in our lives right now, that is going to be of like longevity. It's going to be very stable over the long term. So we are right now in this very big course correction, and it can feel very uncomfortable. Eclipses in Aquarius is about being pushed outside of our comfort zones. And of course, Saturn, sextile Pluto, it is about like implementation through AI and automation. And a lot of people are gonna have some issues within their job landscape, but it's forcing us to reinvent ourselves. Maybe you're not meant to sit behind a desk from 9 to 5, because your worth and your value and your skills and your talents, they are so much more than that. And I know there's a lot of resistance, but just trust that it's all for a reason. And I'm gonna read the comments here, you guys, because you guys are very on fire here in the chat. Um, yeah, exactly. Already working on it. The community is a community of trading, grow my own food, eggs, and meat. Well, that is perfect, because a lot of people are talking about, yeah, well, I'm investing in the stock market. And I'm like, are you sure right now? Maybe you shouldn't be focused on investing. Maybe you should just plant some cabbage right now. And I know even that isn't easy, because I've tried it in my own backyard here, and it takes a lot of dedication. And if the soil isn't completely okay, then that is like very difficult things to do. And unfortunately, we are out of touch with nature, or a lot of us are, because we are being brought up in this artificial system where we are so we rely so much on yeah, the system. And it's really about breaking free from the system and becoming more independent and taking accountability for ourselves. Saturn is in Aries. So Bamlo, hi Bamlo. Moon is in Aries. Does that mean war? My morning is Gemini. I do not understand the last thing, but yes, the Moon in Aries, like we are now seeing a whole big buildup. But today it's actually in Gemini. But still, yeah, we see a lot of planets in Aries. Unfortunately, that is war. We had the most powerful equinox now on the 20th in over 165 years, you guys. That was the last time when Neptune was in Aries. And as soon Neptune ingressed into Aries, then we saw the Civil War kicking off in the States. So, yeah, these are very interesting times. So, hi everyone in the chat. Thank you guys all so much for your sweet comments. Yes, exactly, Sekhmet, Fire Goddess. Change is very necessary. We deserve our full sovereignty. Bring it on. I'm ready. That is the spirit, because I feel like a lot of people right now, they are in this negative spiral, and I do understand that, and we can definitely hold space for that. But it is really about bringing power back to the people, and the next 9 years are going to be very, very special in those regards. We are here in a very, very big special time of transition. John Diesel, hi John. The stock market, a means of controlling prices by speculation rather than reality. Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. And the stock market is going to see big, big problems whenever the South Node ingresses into Leo by the end of July. We're also going to have a Venus retrograde in October in the sign of Scorpio, about to square off with the ruler Pluto. So a lot of people ask me, like, how long will this last? It's just like one thing after another in 2026. And I just need to be honest to you guys. And like, if you look at what's happening at the world stage, you guys are so aware. You guys already learned so many big lessons in 2020. I heard the Trump administration say, yeah, well, it's only going to be 2 weeks and then the war will be over. And it just like completely triggered my COVID PTSD. And I was like, yeah, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And that became a whole other story. So we're just like in this new scenario of COVID 2.0. There is an action reaction solution. I know some people who work here in the harbor of Zeebrugge and also Ghent. Like, for a lot of you people who don't know where I live, I actually live in Belgium at the shore. I live in Blankenberg. It's kind of famous all over the world because we have like this pier inside of like in the sea. So a lot of people know where that is. Um, but I've been like seeing messages and also seeing videos online of gas tankers and oil tankers that are just like not allowed in the port, and they are not allowed to like deliver their cargo. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's just all again done by design. And we've seen it already happening in 2020. And honestly, I feel so over it because we all knew 2020 was going to be a test run, and now we are seeing the new like the new next step in the rollout. And that is because of these two bad boys here, you guys, Saturn and Pluto together, unfortunately. And I'm telling you, now it's a sextile. In 2028 it's going to be a square, so we better prepare. But yeah, if you're already focusing on building community, and if you have a safety net, and if you have people that you can count upon, if you are growing your own food, if you have like solar panels and all of that, well, then you're just doing very well. And also, with Iran is about to switch over to 29 degrees here from April the 6th until April 25th, 26th for Europe, your Uranus will be at 29 critical degrees. So a backup generator is going to be very useful for certain people. Also, yeah, we're going to see cyber attacks. Maybe wise to have some cash at home, maybe useful or handy to have some gold and silver at home, because I know a lot of people have been investing that in like shares online, like paper shares. And yeah, you need to like physically own it, you guys. So yeah, John, exactly. The military industrial complex, along with the banking industrial complex, are on overdrive. Yes, exactly. And that is also Saturn and Neptune and this whole Aries stellium, because Aries rules over the industrial, like the military complex. And the thing that they just like pulled in, like the oil refinery in Texas, like, what a surprise. It's all done by design. They are literally destructing everything so that they can implement their online currencies, their electric cars, their universal basic income. It's just like all, yeah, it's all going as planned. So for a lot of you guys, of course, this is not a surprise, but still, we need to deal with it, and it is not easy right now. And I get it if people are a little bit panicking, but still, now is the time to really like ignite the Aries fire within inside of yourselves. Yeah, Elwood, the city of London banking syndicate is who the war is being waged upon. Yeah, I know. There's way more beneath all of everything that is going on right now. But still, there can be a war against the city of London banking system here, but it's definitely not working out as well for all of us, is it not? So, yeah. Yes, exactly. Jenga with the giggle watching it all crumble to allow the Jubilee to reign. Yeah, but still, you guys, I'm not giggling at all because things are going to get serious in 2028. So, but still, yeah, it needs to be done. So I agree on that for sure. All right, let's look at the week ahead. So here today, of course, we see the Sun conjunct Saturn exactly today. That is like a very big reality slap. The Sun shines its spotlight and it shines brightest now on planet Saturn. Like Saturn is about structure, rules, the government, people in an authority position being reframed, feeling blocked, feeling like you just hit a wall. And the moon is in Gemini. There is a lot of mental business, and a lot of people are thinking and overthinking and gathering all the facts and looking at all the sites of information. But it's squaring Mars in Pisces, you guys. So yeah, this is a very special kind of irritation that we're seeing here. It's confusion, hesitation. There can be mixed signals, possessive aggressive behavior, and a lot of emotional fatigue. And it's like your mind, Gemini, wants to move in one direction, but yeah, it's not clear and not consistent. It's mutable, it's flexible, and we're trying to get an answer, but we can feel like we're like running in circles right now, and we try to make progress, but with the sun on Saturn, we suddenly have to deal with delays, with misunderstandings, with people who seem like emotionally lost and confused because the sun is still under like the spell of Neptune here. And that spell was very apparent during the weekend. Oh my God, there was like one particular day, Friday night and Saturday, where I felt a little bit lost in space. And of course, like my own natal sun is at 7 degrees of Aries. So, yay, Saturn is about to conjunct that. Oh my God. Please, Lord, send help. So, okay, yeah. You know, when Saturn conjuncts the Sun, it's a very big time of austerity and seriousness and malfunctioning and systems that are just being fully highlighted and shined upon by the sun here. And it's mostly having to do with the military industrial complex here. Now, luckily, we also see a trine between Mars and the Jupiter in Cancer still. So that is like a little bit of a background current, but still, the Moon square Mars, they overrule the trine to Jupiter, so they definitely create some friction here today. So yeah, if you feel a little bit more frustrated, then that is like completely normal. Consider it just the sign of the times. So on the 25th here, we can see that the sun is still conjunct Saturn in Aries tomorrow. We're going to see the first quarter square between the moon and the sun. That is a pretty big deal, you guys, because the new moon we just had was actually here at 28 degrees of Pisces. That was on the 18th. So it's planted a new seed in the sign of Pisces, oil, gas, water is very important as well. You guys, they are destroying all the water facilities and people for the Middle East as well. They do not have rivers, they do not have lakes. Yeah, it's pretty intense stuff. But on a more personal level, yeah, it's like it is so profound here. What's happening this week? First, the Sun conjuncted Neptune during the weekend, then today and tomorrow conjunct Saturn. But the Sun is also making a sextile to Pluto. And then on the 28th, Saturn will make an exact sextile to Pluto. So there is a lot of stuff going on here, you guys. While all of that's happening, Venus is about to conjunct Chiron, which is about wounds and how this whole war, Aries, wounds us in our pocket and within our finances. That is very apparent here in the chart as well. And then Uranus is about to make himself ready to jump over at the last degree. So yeah, the sun on Saturn, Aries, it always wants motion and quickness, and it's about confidence and also leadership and independence and action. But like now, Saturn says, prove it. Prove that you are doing things that are sustainable. Prove that you take accountability for your actions. Commit to the things that you promised. Be disciplined, be accountable, be mature, strategic. And I know a lot of world leaders are actually struggling with those regards right now, but that can also definitely play out in our own personal lives. So the lesson here is really about like self leadership. How are we using our will? How do we assert ourselves forward? How we direct our energy? We need to act like our own authority in our own lives right now. So, yeah, are you still waiting for permission? Are you still waiting for someone to come and save you? Because these times are over, you guys. Neptune and Saturn are out of Pisces. So, do not wait for the perfect conditions. This aspect says you need to make your own conditions and just build upon it step by step. And Sun Saturn, it can feel heavy. It is sobering. It brings reality checks. It can expose a lot of weak foundations, especially within government structures right now. Saturn deals with government. So this is bringing actually so much pressure for solar figures. So authority figures, CEOs, presidents, kings, heads of state, important, prominent people in society. So yeah, can even about like your own father. Sun and Saturn both resemble the father. Guess who I get a call from? Yeah, it's really spectacular. Astrology, it is clockwork. So yeah, your responsibilities, they cannot be ignored anymore. In a more positive sense, it can also help us to become more serious about what truly matters. And it's like cutting through the confusion of this weekend's Sun Neptune conjunction. And yeah, it helps us to strengthen our backbone and to be like able to tap into the fiery energy of Aries. And then the first quarter moon here in the Cancer, tomorrow things are going to become a little bit more emotional, you guys. Moon in Cancer, she's at home in the sign of Cancer. She becomes way more sensitive towards everything that is going on. And she's squaring off with Neptune and Saturn, you guys. That is important. Um, she's picking up the whole story of Saturn and Neptune, you guys. So people are going to be a little bit emotionally defensive. They can feel me more raw. Some of us need to feel like we have everything to keep it together while also like processing a lot of internal emotions. If you're a cardinal sign, which is Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, then you are going to feel this very strongly, this square here. But the sun is also sextile on Pluto in Aquarius, and that brings a very different quality to everything, because Pluto here now says transformation, it is possible. Power, it is available. Power is within your own self, within your own accountability, within your own strength. So strategy matters. Emotional honesty matters. Courage is being needed to draw upon. So this is like purposeful pressure. It can make you feel like, yeah, the pressure can help you to make a deeper commitment. It can help you cut through the denial about everything that's going on, and it can also help you to see what needs to change in order for your life to become more aligned. But it comes with its difficulties. So collectively, this one is very big, very important for leadership, for governments, for executive decisions, for institutional power, economic pressure, everything that is related to housing, land, family policy, homeland security issues, national security. All of that is going majorly highlighted tomorrow and the 26th as well. So really pay attention to like the housing prices and the housing market and affordability and the restructuring within leadership and the pressure that it brings. And we can have issues with like property and domestic policies and also like the national identity. And the moon also rules over the people, so the public emotional responses are going to be way more intense to like the decisions that are being made in leadership. The full moon in Libra that is going to come up here on the 1st of April is going to be so important for the states and for like Congress and other executive like branches of the government, because the full moon in Libra, it is about like rules, and it's about the scales of justice, and it's also about law and legality. And the full moon in Libra will oppose the sun in Cancer exact. The sun in Cancer for the US Sibley chart is at 13 degrees of Cancer. And the full moon in Libra that is going to come up here on the 1st of April will be at 12 degrees, a Pisces degree, dissolvement, endings, culmination, and it will oppose, square the sun in the US Sibley chart exactly, because it's also a cardinal sign. And the sun in the US Sibley chart, which is in Cancer, conjunct the 8th house cusp, that is about like the leader, the president, and the executive branch. And there is going to be a very big thing that is going to be revealed and released and announced on the 1st of April, probably. So I do not know why this came up into my mind, but it was important to already like, share that with you now. So if we then shift over to the 26th, and that is going to be the day when Venus is going to conjunct Chiron. Yes, Bamlo, April Fool's Day, full moon, 1 year after the tariffs. Exactly. So, yeah, the interesting part is that the tariffs came into praise or like into practice whenever Saturn was in Aries. That was like 25th of May. like between Neptune shifting over into Aries, that was the 30th of March, and then the 25th of May, we had Saturn jumping over into Aries, and in between all of that, the Taurus skipped off. So I already knew all the implementations of last year during that specific time period would really come to a head and have a very big like continuation in 2026. So yeah. John says, you touch on it. We are diverted by military war. Then we don't think about controlled famines where people don't have food, clean water. Exactly. And you guys, the famines and the water issues are now happening in the Middle East. But please do not think that it's not going to be possible to happen here with us. They are creating a famine by design. Yeah, that is why we are going to be forced to really grow our own food. Now, luckily, a lot of people are already on that, and there's going to be a solution. But still, we are on the brinks of a very, very big shift. And like now, it's planting season. But whenever we see the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, which will be on the 28th of August, then it will be harvesting season. And then we're going to see the real like culmination of the new moon that we just had in Pisces on the 18th. So, yeah, Saturn and Aries, doing things for the first time, doing things that we are a little bit afraid of, building new structures, building a new stability. It is really about that in the next 2 years. And of course, the Saturn Neptune conjunction, the first time it happened, like we already saw a Saturn Neptune conjunction at 2 degrees of Aries, but that was 6,000 years ago. That was like also a very big time period in our like history, but of course the brainwash history of mankind. But still, it's important to like connect the dots and to look at what happened so many years ago. Robert Seffer is a guy who has a very big YouTube channel. He also shares a lot of insights about that. Although I do not agree with everything he shares and says, and that's very interesting to look at his opinions about everything that's also going on right now. So yeah, it's all connected to one another. All right, what else? Venus conjunct Chiron here on the 26th. Very important. It will be at 25 degrees, which is an Aries degree. How interesting. Yeah. Aries degree, again, war, and how that is hurting us and causing actual wounds, and also how it's hurting our wallet and our financial system. That is like the very big Venus Chiron conjunction here. We're also seeing that the moon will be conjunct Jupiter. Normally in traditional astrology, I would be saying now, like, okay, this is a day of blessings and abundance and positive feelings. But honestly, it depends on your own personal state of mind and your own emotions right now, because Jupiter is just simply going to amplify the emotions of the people. And we know they're kind of pissed off right now with this whole stellium in Aries. So do not let it get you down. Try to really practice gratefulness. If you feel like you're a little bit in a spiral because of everything that's going on, just make a gratitude list. Every night before I go to bed, I list inside of my own head. It's so funny because I'm a Virgo rising. I list 5 to 10 things each and every night before I go to bed, things that I'm grateful for. And it just helps you to raise your frequency and your vibration and to attract the more beautiful things in life. I really feel that that helps me a lot. It trying to gets me out of like overthinking, because as a Virgo rising, I'm always like prepared for the worst. I'm a very big critic. Sometimes I overthink too much. Sometimes I am too tough on myself. And of course, the South Node is in Virgo, you guys. We all collectively right now need to be able to release those like big self criticisms and over analyzing and trying to be perfect. Yeah. Next year in March of 2027, or the end of February, somewhere along those lines, we're going to see the last full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and then we need to wrap like the over analyzing and to being too critical on ourselves and others and being too tough and strict on ourselves, that needs to go. Of course, that is now also a major headline or like a major theme because we just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. So again, another emphasis on that. We just had that on the 3rd of March. So that is so funny, Bablo. Just go to the garden store and buy some seeds. You do not have to take an icebreaker to go to Antarctica. It's so funny, Bablo, because a couple of days ago I saw like a funny video on Instagram where there were like loads of boats gathering together with like pirate flags, and the headliner said like point of view, what if we all gather together and go to like the ice wall and just like all sail through it together? And it just like it made me so, it made me felt seen because I have been putting a lot of time, energy into also the sailboat of my boyfriend, and of course, like I'm only there to be the passenger princess on board and to tan in the sun during the summer. But he has been putting so much effort in, and it is also a very big means of like being free whenever, wherever you want to go. You can just like sail off and the wind is going to bring you, and thanks to him, yeah, and thanks to him actually, I've learned so much about the current world affairs, because he was such a like, I call him Mr. Critic. He has a moon in Capricorn. He knows what's up, and he's very interested in all the political stuff. And he's actually my main source of information. It is not Twitter; it is my boyfriend, because I know with his Capricorn moon, he's so into the politics and in all the conspiracies. And 15 years ago he was talking about the nanobots and the chemtrails, and everyone always told him that he was so crazy. And now everyone starts to come up to him to talk and to ask advice, and he's just like, okay, yeah, well, but I've said it all 15 years ago. Now it's time to act, and now we need to like get into action, get into motion to free ourselves from the system. And we can gather into tiny communities with tiny houses, in the forest, in the woods. There are so many possibilities, and I think this time frame is really here to connect us back to Mother Nature. Like Saturn sextile Pluto is also going to be a very big theme on new technologies and brain chips and all of that. Well, yeah, they can take their own brain chip. Please don't ask me. And we're going to see such a big split in humanity. And one part of it is really entering a very new, beautiful future. Like around the corner here, there is a food forest. I'm lucky to live between the farmers, and it's all like showing us that we really need to take care of our farmers and help them, because they are getting boycotted so massively. It is like unreal. So we all need to like, yeah, we say here in Dutch, we all need to pull the same main sail. And sometimes when we are sailing, the wind is blowing, the wind is picking up, the sea becomes rough, and everything is becoming a little bit more overwhelming. But the biggest lesson is to just adjust your sail according to the wind. There's always going to be a solution, there's always going to be a positive outcome, but we just need to adjust, and we need to come out of our comfort zone. And that is something that he has been teaching me a lot during the previous 8 years. It doesn't matter where the wind is blowing from. We just like set the sail in the correct way, and things are going to work out. But yeah, sometimes the sea is a little bit rough, and it's just like a very big, beautiful metaphor for everything that's going on right now. Like if you look at the world stage, it is definitely 8 before right now. The next 6 weeks, it's going to go to 10 before, yes. But then we just get like the storm cell, and then everything calms down again, and we need to surrender and have faith. So yeah, John, the Viking looking boyfriend. Yes, exactly, he looks like Ragnar. It's kind of funny, yeah. So yeah, yeah, Bamlo, a lot of new robots in the next 25 years. Exactly. Like what I'm seeing in astrology with Pluto and Aquarius is that before Pluto is going to shift over to Pisces. It's going to do that in 2042, 2043. It's going to go back and forward. Before that time period, before it shifts over, because the energy tends to be strongest whenever it's about to shift over. We also saw that with Pluto shifting over from Capricorn and Aquarius and all the crazy things that went on in 2023, 24. There's going to be something massive happening with robots. And I think that is going to be a very big wake-up call to, change something in that, destroy maybe a lot of that, and come back to our inner selves and our own nature. So of course, we are going to see more robots, yes. But there are also going to be good robots. And that is something that we need to keep in mind. Yes, John, exactly. Pray that they aren't the Monsanto GMO seeds. That is important, and it's becoming quite difficult to have non-GMO seeds. That is true. So yes, Tammy, move forward without panic. A lesson I'm trying to teach to my children. That's very beautiful. And children are going to be such a big team whenever Jupiter ingresses into Leo. Like children, they have been, I'm not going to get too negative, but with all the files and with all the things that have been highlighted in regards to children, like there's going to be such a big emphasis on the universe casting this protective shield over children whenever Jupiter enters Leo, and then they're going to have a whole big dose of like eclipses in the sign of Leo. A lot of things getting revealed in regards to children over the next 2 years, and like some kind of protection or energetic field being casted from our planetary energy here. So definitely, this whole Epstein file story, it is not over. No, not at all. Because when we look at the chart for Jeffrey Epstein, and if we also link that back to previous cycles, then we know that Uranus is a very big, important key factor for the release of the files. And by the end of April, Uranus will move over into Gemini. And before it does that, it's going to trine Jeffrey Epstein's sun again. So actually, from the middle of April until the end of April, we can even see a new file release. More truth, more evidence, less black, less black boxes, because it's like all blacked out. But yeah, we're definitely going to see more information in regards to that. So yeah, interesting times, you guys. What else here on the 26th? Venus conjunct Chiron. Heal your family wounds, heal your identity wounds. That is going to be a very important day here. And this is a day where people are going to be a little bit more emotional. If you need to cry, let it out. Our cortisol levels are spiking with the solar eclipse in Aquarius that we had in February. Crying is very good. Crying releases, or like it causes a drop in cortisol levels. So yeah, also a very beautiful day for like therapy or heart-to-heart conversations, forgiveness, self-love practices with Venus conjunct Chiron. And it's also about processing grief still, because Mercury is still not out of its post-shadow phase. That will only happen on the 9th of April. And look, you guys, here in the chart, we can see that Mercury, the one who dissolved so many allies and so many like delays in travel, delays in like oil, gas, all of that belongs to Pisces. Here we see Mercury at 10 degrees, you guys. 10 degree is a Capricorn degree. We're going to see and hear some very big destined news in the media about oil and gas, new rules about that being implemented by Jupiter in Cancer here. Yeah, interesting stuff, you guys. 10 degrees is a Capricorn degree. So, and here we see Mars. Mars is at 18 degrees, which is a critical Virgo degree. So, yeah. How I tie it all together, big news about the government that's very destined in regards to new laws where people are going to feel emotional about. And 15 degrees here is Gemini degree. So again, in the news, multiple things, multiple new rules, because Gemini rules over things double. And then we see Mars, news about the war, about gas and oil, and how that's being like critically affecting our systems, our daily systems that we operate upon. So yeah, we can and are going to see energy lockdowns, you guys. And I do not want to scare you guys, but it's also not going to be as global anymore as we saw during COVID. But I think there's going to be different kinds of cities and different countries that are going to lock down to preserve gas. And also, when we look at the UK and Keir Starmer, he also announced that he's not going to be afraid to kick off lockdowns when the spread of meningitis doesn't get under control. And honestly, you guys, I've been saying it a few times for the past few months, even from January of 2025. Saturn and Neptune together in history, the historic cycles always show that there are real pandemics with Neptune and Mars. And now I'm not talking about Keir Starmer's bullshit. I'm actually talking about real diseases, and maybe, who knows, the meningitis is very real. We do not know. And I feel like, because we know so much about what happened in 2020, a lot of people are not going to take it serious now, because the death rate was like, yeah, people died, of course. Even my grandfather died of COVID, but he had diabetic pretty severely, so he had an underlying condition. But honestly, I got COVID as well, and I laid in my bed for 3 weeks straight. Now, I also need to add a note to that, because I had back then a compromised immune system because of Lyme's disease, which I'm now fully healed of. But still, my brother got so sick of it. My mother got so sick of it. Like, at night, I was listening at her door if she was like still breathing. That was how severe it got. And I know a lot of you guys say that viruses aren't real and that the whole disease wasn't real. And you are all like, it's all okay to have your own opinion. All I can say is that I was in my bed for 3 weeks straight, and I lost my smell and like scent and also taste for 6 months. So I'm never gonna say that COVID wasn't real. I just think that we know that they manipulated, and it was abuse of power, and I'm all agreeing on that. Yes, but still, Saturn, Neptune right now, they are connected to real pandemics, and a lot of people are not going to take it serious anymore, because I know a lot of people who were positive with COVID and they didn't even had a single like symptom, and that is where everything got too crazy. Because I'm not going to go too deep into that now, but I have been warning, if something were to break out right now, then it can get more severe than COVID. And people are going to be fed up with the rules. They're not going to believe it. They're not going to take it serious. And there can be more higher death numbers. Look at the historic cycles yourself of Neptune, Saturn. We had the plague, we had the Spanish flu, and also I know that the Spanish flu was also like because of certain jabs, and there is also like a whole deeper layer to that. But still, it doesn't take away that people can get more severely sick than of COVID. So I just like strongly want to emphasize that. And like, the most striking thing is like, in the beginning of COVID, like, my boyfriend told me, like, Astrid, now it's probably not going to be that severe, even though I need to be careful with my health history and my Lyme's disease. He said the next thing that they're going to try to spread amongst the people, that is going to be way more severe, and people are not going to be they're going to be disobedient, and they're not going to take it seriously, and then is when things really are going to start to be a little bit messy. So yeah, it is very striking that like now there's going to be elections in the UK, and Starmer just said like, okay, but then I am going to lock it down of meningitis. So still, I would be mindful and keep it into the back of your mind. Yeah, 2020 was important to look back at, when a worldwide false flag shut down the free enterprise system Little by little, the population are turning off commands from governments. Sorry, you got sick. Yeah, but it's true. It was a false flag and in many multiple layers. It was like insane. So still, manipulated flu. Yes, exactly. But I am fully aware that these guys are able to release something that is going to be way more severely. Like if you look at the Georgia Guidestones, how they want to reduce the population, and I also think people who took the jab are going to be way more. Yeah, you guys know what I try to say, right? I need to be a little bit careful here on YouTube. I do not want to get JC's account banned here, man. So yeah, but still keep it in mind. People are going to be not taking it serious anymore, while with Saturn and Neptune, there is a chance that it can get a little bit more severe here. So I don't want to cause any fear. I just want to create awareness. I totally understand that people are going to be like, okay, well, we've had that in 2020 and it was only 0.001% that passed away. Still, just wanted to, yeah, exactly, sprinkler. No, I never ever will as well. Over my dead body. Yeah, exactly. That is not going to work. All right, to continue here, yeah, let's switch over to the next day. And before I do that, I have a pretty cool announcement for you guys because here we have this spring equinox sale. You can now unlock the insider access pass for 50% off, you guys. So you can use the promo code SPRING50 and you will get 50% off. And it's going to be valid until March the 3rd. So be sure you get that in time. And also here, from March the 21st to the 27th, there's also this promo. So yeah, everything you need, half price. All Academy content will also be half price, so 50% off with Spring 50. So if you guys haven't seen my every season workshop, you can now also get that for people who have the insider access pass. So make sure you go to beyondmystic.net and get that while it's possible. All right, let's switch over to March the 27th because then the tone is going to shift completely. The moon is going to enter into Leo, and then it's going to become a little bit more dramatic, you guys, because first and foremost, moon will trine Saturn, Neptune, the sun, opposition to Pluto, sextile to Uranus. So every time when something ingresses within the first decan of Leo, it's actually aspecting all of the outer planets. So you guys, that is important. If you have a sun, moon, or rising in the first decan of Taurus, so within the first 10 degrees, oh my god, you guys, in like the summer times, July, June, August, you're going to be hit by all of the outer planets that will be at 4 degrees. It's going to be pretty special if you have some planet at 4 degrees, no matter the sign, actually. So that is going to be such an interesting period. But when the moon opposes Pluto, things become a little bit more intensely. Emotions intensify. Pluto is not casual. It brings a lot of emotional extremes and power struggles and projection. Can even be a little bit about obsession. And obsession is very strongly in the cards here, you guys, because Saturn and Pluto are about to make their exact sextile here a day later on the 28th. And Pluto is about obsession, and Saturn is really about like, yeah, how do I say it? Yeah, Pluto is extremes, and Saturn is something that lasts, like digging in your heels, being serious about something. So seriously obsessive is also how you can read it. Then the moon in Leo is going to be a little bit more, yeah, people are going to reacting from like a much deeper than surface level issues here. But the positive side, if you detach from like the world stage and all the crazy shit that is going on, then Leo, it wants to have fun. It wants to create, express, dance, sing, follow the heart. And that is actually very beautiful. But Pluto in Aquarius, he's then like, okay, but not so fast. I know you want to express yourself fully and unapologetically. and I love your authenticity, but like, what about the collective? What about certain power dynamics? What about the group of people? What about like the underlying control issues here? It's gonna bring that like from under the surface. So definitely tension between like personal expression and what you see happening in society. It can be like a little bit of a clash between like wanting to be authentic and feeling judged by some people. So do not care what other people think, stand in your truth, dance, sing, have fun, have a good time, and do not let the struggles in society get you down now. um of course, Leo, it is also about dating and children. So you can have a very cool date, you can have a good night out, you can dance, sing, you can have a little drink if you are into that. I do not advise that, but like Leo, it is about having a good time. So maybe if you feel a little bit overstressed, having one glass of red wine at night, it can definitely help you to also just find inner peace during those difficult times. Like, and I also want to state that I never drink because in the old Hebrewic word alcohol is actually the devil. So I'm also like throwing that out there while I'm at it, so you guys do not think that I want to like get you guys on the bottle in some kind of way. All right, but Leo here, it is also about like public figures and celebrities and leadership, and the whole US administration. A lot of the key figures within the administration have a lot of Leo energy. So yeah, I think that is said enough. But on a personal level, what am I bringing? What am I creating? Because I actually genuinely love it. What are you expressing? Because it's true. And do not react arrogant because you feel powerless. That is going to be the downside if every time we see the moon in Leo opposing Pluto and Aquarius now. So yeah, not every social media crisis needs to become your spiritual assignment, you guys. Not every conflict also needs your immediate emotional investment. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do under this Pluto activation is actually step away from the hive mind, which is Pluto and Aquarius, and actually return to your own center and your own happiness. Because there's a lot of creative potential here. And also, because it trines the whole stellium in Aries, there is a lot of courage and a lot of fearlessness and a lot to win and a lot of heart here. But you need to stay rooted in yourself instead of like trying to win every emotional chess match around you. And because there are many of them right now with all this intense energy. So yeah, lead with your heart and not from the ego. And also don't feed the unnecessary drama. Leo rules over drama. On the 28th, that is the big day, you guys. Yes, Bodina, exactly. Alcohol is spirit itself. Yes, it's the reason why they call it spirit. So yeah, thank you for adding that. Uh, Biowarfare is crazy. Biowarfare is crazy since it can backfire on those using them. Is there really an antidote? Yeah, that is an important question, John. Also, honestly, I'm going to maybe answer that from an Aries perspective, but if they had so many big biowarfare weapons and these weapons of mass destruction, wouldn't they have used it already right now? And also with the war that's going on, that is like sometimes a question I ask myself. Isn't it like far more easy for them to just like drop one bomb instead of like being in this ongoing war for such a long time? And if you then look at the whole nuclear technology and also radiation in I cannot the name is escaping my mind. Oh my god, the Chernobyl. Oh my god, like look up some things on Rumble. There is a lot of alternative information about that. And I'm not saying that there aren't weapons of mass destruction. I'm just saying that there are different opinions about that as well and multiple different layers. And I do not know the truth about that because I'm not well versed at all of these special technologies. What we are seeing right now is that Iran has actually now been using their more advanced or like sophisticated weapons right now. So yeah, they're definitely turning it up a notch. However, is it going to come to that? The nuclear technology chart is triggered, like, or is getting triggered now in the upcoming months. So if you've tuned in for my Eclipse and Aquarius workshop, you already know that, because there we went over the nuclear technology chart. Yeah, still, maybe I need to save that for another video, because with Uranus into Gemini, that is also going to be a very big deal and issue. So yeah. Yeah, it is true. The globalists make a lot of money by keeping the war going. That is absolutely correct. Yes, that is. Thank you for adding that. It is true. So, yeah, however, I do not think that is going to come so far. I do, honestly, I do not feel that. However, there is going to be major talks about that, major ethical debates, because if you look at the nuclear technology chart, then there is definitely some intensity going right now and also up until next year. But still, I feel like that is not going to happen. And also, the future, it is not set. We can all collectively choose to tune in to the more higher positive, like, manifestation of the timeline. If we're going to feed into the whole war negative and be scared, then that is going to happen, and then we're going to feed into that. And I consciously really choose not to do that, because I choose for like a higher timeline. Very, very, yeah, of course. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Elwood, again, I know you're right, but still, um yeah, and I know a lot of people, yeah, all these wars are fake and this and that, but still, people are dying, people are suffering, people look at what's happening in Cuba. Bedoel, I mean, like, yeah, it's not because it's all staged and it's all like pre-planned that they're not real casualties and that there are not people suffering. So we need to be a little bit careful with how we say that. All right, Saturn sextile Pluto. This is the big day, you guys. Very important also for the US chart, because now we can see that Mars is actually at 20 degrees, and the natal Mars of the US Sibley chart is actually here at 21 degrees of Gemini, and it's making a perfect square. The square is going to perfect a couple of days after, but whenever a square is building, the building of the energy is mostly the most intense time period. So Mars square Mars, yeah, that is like very explosive, honestly. Taking this into accountability as well, this is honestly a little bit austerious, or how do you say it? It is not positive, honestly. So yeah, this is about structural reform, strategic power, a lot of concentrated pressure, and it's actually about long-term building. And this is not soft. Like Saturn in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius, it is emotionless. And these are two heavy hitters, you guys. These were on top of one another, together with Jupiter here at 22 degrees of Capricorn during December and January of 2020. Also important, I would strongly advise you not to travel during the month of April, even already starting from now. If you have a travel plan, make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you really look closely at where you are flying, when you're going to be able to return. I think going there is not going to be a problem, but I think returning, it can definitely cause some issues. And look at what's happening at all the airports in the US. We had this very terrible accident. That is because Mercury went like direct on the north node at 8 degrees. And whenever the airplane accident happened there on the runway with the truck, Mercury was at 9 degrees, and 9 degrees is a Sagittarius degree, and it's being amplified and exploded even more with Jupiter here. So we're going to see more about issues with travel as Mercury is about to get himself ready to make a third trine to Jupiter. I'm going to talk more about that in my April forecast. I'm going to do that on Sunday. Also, Mars here is at 20 degrees. It is a Scorpio degree, you guys. And Mercury went back direct on the North Node at 8 degrees, which is another Scorpio degree. On the 29th, and even already on the 28th, because this is a chart of 12, actually a noon chart for Toronto. After the afternoon, like around 1 p.m., the sun will be at 8 degrees, another Scorpio degree together with Mars here. So I'm just saying because Mars originally belongs to Aries. So it's actually dispositing back to the sun in Aries. This is going to be something kind of intense with government, with leadership, with people who have a very big position in society, someone maybe even passing, stepping down, an intense kind of message that is about to be released here on the 28th. So, on a more personal level, Saturn sextile Pluto can be very positive for making like serious commitments and defining new long-term plans, setting better boundaries, and it's also about taking responsibility for your future and building new systems that are going to support your life in the long term. So we really need to decide what now has to change in order for us to grow in the long term. So it's actually not explosive action, it is about purposeful action. It can be slow action, deliberate, very strategic, and the first few days are going to feel a little bit more confusing and emotional, but here is like the day when we can be like, okay, but enough is enough, and this is my new plan, and there's going to be a lot of strength in that, and there's going to be momentum building. But Mars, 20 degrees of Pisces, Scorpio degree, that adds a very important layer. It adds a lot of intensity, and it's actually more emotionally loaded here in the chart. And they are going to be talking to one another. So we're going to see very big acts of anger and pressure and covert tactics and backstabbery, and that can actually be like the final straw or like the final drop in the bucket that like overflows it, and where we're going to be like, okay, well, enough is enough. Now I'm going to take things in my own hands, take matters into my own hands, and change something up that is going to be beneficial for me in the long term, and by that also rebranding our identity and our purpose and our way forward. So, but definitely for the US, these days are going to be very intense. A lot of political tension, a lot of headlines about defense, national security, like homeland security. Is there something going to be happening with Cuba? I don't know. There is a possibility. So maybe for Florida, that is also likely. Definitely in the next 6 weeks. But in my Aries season workshop, I also talked more about that and like the further implications for like the next year, how that's going to play out, because there's definitely also like a regime change in the cards for Cuba here, unfortunately, and what these people need to go through. That is absolutely mind-boggling, and it actually hurts my heart to see that no one should be living in such circumstances in 2026. So yeah, for yourself and for life on a personal level, what are you building over the next year? Something you start right now. It is not about instant gratification, which Aries normally really likes, but Saturn is like, whoa, Aries, tone it down a little bit. You're gonna need to practice some patience. And Aries, it doesn't have any patience. So still, very good energy to implement new things that are going to be of major beneficial energy for you over the long term. And it's also showing you where you maybe need to add a little bit more discipline, or which structures need some kind of reform. But guys, you can already imagine that this is going to be quite huge on the world stage. Now, Saturday, or the 29th, we see a moon square Uranus. Now, important to note, you guys, when we had the solar eclipse in Aquarius, that was at 28 degrees in February on the 17th. Then it was only when Mars conjuncted the 28 degrees here of Aquarius, squaring off with Uranus, that the first bomb entered into Iran. Now the moon will be in Leo, which is quite dramatic, at 28 degrees, squaring off with Uranus 28 degrees, which also means it's opposing this degree. Interesting. It's going to be an interesting day in all that is going on in regards to the political and military difficulties that are going on right now. Here, Venus, also 28 degrees. When a lot of things are at 28 degrees, that is like a sign. At 28 degrees, it is a Cancer degree. So, what goes on in our own home, our own house, our own country, pretty important stuff, you guys. And Venus is about to get ready to square off with Pluto. Yeah. Okay. So can be a little bit of financial shock here also. We can have earth events, cyber disruptions. This day is really gonna the volatility is gonna become more noticeable, not only on the global stage but also within our personal lives. And of course, Uranus and Taurus, food supply chain disruptions. Taurus rules with agriculture, the land, farming, financial instability by Uranus, and the moon is going to be like in the sign of the stock market and it's going to make a square to that. So I'm just saying it, while Venus is also going to square Pluto. There can be a little bit more anxiety in the body during this time, so be sure to ground yourself a little bit more fully. Moon square Uranus are very, very, known for that. Now, of course, during the afternoon hours, the moon will ingress into Virgo and it will then come off of the square with Uranus. So then it will be like first your routines got a little bit disrupted. Maybe you're going to need to reschedule something. Maybe there's going to be a change in plans. That can give a little bit irritability in the body or anxiety or like irritation from things that are not going according to schedule and an urge to actually reorganize everything because life feels a little bit unpredictable. But in the afternoon, when the moon goes into Virgo, you can really like focus on like your routine and what needs to be changed. Maybe you need to just simply clean out the house in order to feel like emotionally more stable. That is also a possibility. Focus on health, your routine, your well-being, your physical well-being. Stay flexible and open to change. Because with the square to Uranus and Taurus, there's definitely going to be some like it is disruption in material stability and food systems and anything that we would like assume that are steady. That is all being like massively shaken up right now. So yeah, Uranus is about to get at 29 degrees, you guys. Whenever it shifts over on the 6th of April here at 29 degrees, we can even see like some kind of big event connected to the Ring of Fire. Maybe even in Indonesia, some kind of volcano, more earthquakes, something that's like a physical event that can definitely happen in the month of April from the 6th until the 26th, actually. On the 23rd, then Venus will be here on top of Uranus. So, yeah. Surprising economic headlines for sure, not only during this day, but especially on the 23rd of April. And yeah, a lot of people are taking out their 401k. Also, something to maybe get some information about. I am not a financial advisor, but Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus is definitely going to bring cyber attacks to banks, to simply outages that are going to be affecting our material systems and instability within the infrastructure of Mother Nature and everything that we have built, more seismic activity, a lot of disturbances within Mother Earth, and also within like the Schumann resonance. If we have been looking like at the charts for the past couple of weeks, then we even see like, and I want to thank Stain for bringing that to my attention. Stain showed me like a chart of the Schumann resonance, and it was like in blocks. And we have never seen like, I have never seen that before. Let me know if you have already been noticing that, but it's off the charts, you guys, and it's not normal what's happening right now. And that is also Uranus in Taurus, causing a lot of instability. Yeah, we all gonna need to be a little bit more careful with tech, and we can also see like very big power outages and cyber attacks, and all of that is very strongly in the astrology here from now until the next month. So then to close out the weekly astrology, we can look a little bit more at Venus and Taurus. That is actually quite positive. In traditional astrology, of course, Venus is in her home sign in Taurus. She belongs here. She works well. She gets a lot of points. But first, she's going to need to meet up with Pluto. And after that, she's still operating within the same sign where Uranus is currently located in. So next year, when Uranus will be in Gemini and Venus will be then again moving through Taurus, that is going to be a whole other story, you guys. So I know a lot of Tauruses are probably looking forward to Venus in their sign. And of course, on a personal level, especially on the 23rd, you can have a very big breakthrough in finances. But next year, she's going to be left alone by Uranus, and she's going to operate even more well in that sign. So many fire and strategic seriousness with Saturn and Pluto, but luckily Venus in Taurus, it is one more of the like welcoming changes in the sky here this week, you guys, because she's at home, she's chill there, she slows down, she settles, she enjoys, she gets tuned in with the body, with the five senses, with a lot of pleasure and value and beauty. Taurus also deals with like food and self-worth and nature. So everything that is truly like nourishing. So Venus in Aries was quite impulsive and explosive and reactive and a little bit sharp-tongued and quite direct and sometimes a little bit inflamed. That is normal with Venus in Aries. But when she moves into Taurus, there can be like a deeper exhale. So yeah, this is actually beautiful here. Next week on Monday, that is definitely going to be a beautiful shift here. So it's good for relationships because she's loyal, she's patient, she's sensual. It's about steadiness, and it can be for some people very good for finances. Like with everything going down now, if you tend to make investments that are smart, and when you talk that through with your financial advisor and do not let that depend on what I say here in the astrology charts, then you can have like a very big breakthrough whenever Venus conjunct Uranus here. So of course, like these general predictions, it is difficult for me. I'm honest about that, because if Venus and Uranus make a positive aspect in your chart instead of like a negative aspect, then that is a very big deal. That is a very big like difference, of course. So that is why it really pays off right now in these interesting times to really book in an astrology session to have a little bit more insight about all of that. So, of course, yeah, this is positive. Venus square Pluto can also be very intense, consuming, all or nothing kind of love or money affairs. So it's a transformational aspect, but it can be pretty intense, you guys. So be well informed before making big moves in your finances. That is going to be very, very important here. But definitely also we can see the moon here conjunct the south node in Virgo. So that is a very big release process. Of course, Virgo deals with the workforce, with like the working class, and there can be a release of jobs or some kind of destined message here about everything that's going on the world stage. Pisces is a global sign, and then how that affects the people, the moon, and the working class, Virgo, and something being released or revealed. That is definitely a very big possibility here on the 30th. Still, the moon here, it can bring like emotional clearing and completion, and some of you are going to feel drained by this active week and this active fire, and then you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to unwind a little bit today. Others are going to be like, I've been listening to too many major headlines Now I need to release it and focus back on myself and my physical health. So it also depends on your personal state of mind. But it can be like a decompression kind of day. Come back to the body. What do you need to release? What can you simplify in your daily life? What can you clean out? Because by like, as a Virgo rising myself, if I clean my closet, my car, my house, it gives me so much peace of mind. Yeah, it is really like a wonderful thing. Yeah, if my boyfriend's looking, he's gonna be like thinking like, well, maybe you should tap even more into that energy, because he actually also helps out so much in the house. But still, um, Virgo is very critical. This is like body care and rest and slow movement. Yeah, just cooking, gardening, enjoying the five senses with Venus in Taurus. That is really gonna help you massively. And it's also gonna be like a very big. The population is going to reflect about the economic situation and everything that's happening. So that is also a very important day here on the 30th. So yeah, Venus and Taurus tap into that energy, tap into the more beautiful things in life right now. And hi, Bodina, Aries Sun with Venus and Taurus here. That is very, very beautiful. Something I want to add here, and also for you, Bodina, is that during this day, the Sun actually really likes to be in Aries, and Venus is at home in Taurus, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and I need to share that as well. Okay, before I go too rosy dozy and cozy and dovey, like cozy with like Venus and Taurus, another thing I want to highlight here on the 30th that just like sparked my interest is that Mars is at 22 degrees. 22 degrees is the kill or be killed degree, and that will exactly still square the US Sibley Sun Mars here. It will trine the Sun, but it was already over that actually. Still, intense degree, you guys. That is going to be important in regards to everything on the global stage. And then the Sun here, the Sun, which is about leadership in Aries, leadership is at 10 degrees, Capricorn degree, the government. So, how this is all lining up here in the chart is actually pretty interesting. But apart from that, really tap into the beautiful energy of Venus in Taurus and do not become too obsessed with current states of politics, power issues. As long as Venus will be squaring Pluto, really tune into yourself, ignite the Aries fire, enjoy being at home with your family, because in my April forecast I'm also going to highlight that Venus a little bit later will make a beautiful sextile to Jupiter. That is going to be a beautiful opportunity for love and finance and the more beautiful things in life. So just know that this is a little bit like, yeah, a week with some bumps in the roads, definitely with Saturn and Pluto. But in our personal lives, we are definitely able to tap into the beautiful energies as well. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for being with me here today. And of course, if you want to book in an astrology session, that is possible here with the 1 year forecast, the birth chart, or a couples reading is also possible. So you can book that at beyondmysticconsultations.net. And you can use Beyond Mystic to get 10% off. And of course, do not forget to tune in here later today with, of course, the beautiful Shannon and her Beyond Healing Show. It is so cool because it happens for you guys at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But for me, it happens at midnight. And then I'm just like lying in my bed, and Shannon is like totally calming down my nervous system. And every time I listen to her show and focus on healing, I just really sleep like a baby. So I am so grateful for Shannon. She is so, so good at what she does. So also do not forget to like, share, and subscribe here at the Beyond Mystic on Rumble, and of course also on YouTube. And I will see you back soon for another weekly next week, of course, on Tuesday. So thank you. Bye bye.